Welcome to the annual organizational meeting of the Boston School Committee. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, long-time observers of the school committee will note that there was no Miss Victoria Mitchell out in the hallway this evening to sign people in. We're very saddened by that, but very happy for Miss Mitchell, who retired effective 12/31 after 22 plus years, is it, in the position, Miss Sullivan? So Miss Mitchell, in her typical quiet, elegant, graceful way, timed her announcement perfectly so she couldn't be honored at a school committee meeting. But we are going to do all we can to convince her, and any member who can help on that would be appreciated to join us at one of the January meetings so we can honor her appropriately. But if she is watching at home, and we hope that she is, Miss Mitchell, we miss you already. So I also want to begin by taking a brief moment to thank Mayor Walsh for reappointing me to another term in the school committee. At yesterday's swearing-in ceremony, which several members were able to attend, and thank you for doing that. I know you all tried to, and I do appreciate it because it was going to be very quick and quiet. But the mayor and I spoke about our shared vision for BPS, raising the vigor, increasing equity, and rolling out Build BPS, our master facilities plan, which will be on the agenda for this year. I'm excited to continue in this important role as a fellow member of all of you, and humbled by the confidence Mayor Walsh expressed in me, as he has expressed in each of us by appointing us to our positions. I also want to thank my family, particularly my wife, for her undying support, who I forgot to thank last night. So I was embarrassed by that. I forgot to thank two people who have been critical to helping me incredibly and being incredibly understanding. One has been my wife, Rana, and the other was Miss Sullivan, our executive secretary. So both forgave me. Miss Sullivan said it was like the Academy Awards, just forgetting to do it. So thank you for both of you for your work. We'll move on now to our first item on the agenda, the approval of the calendar of meetings for 2017. Fellow members, each of you have a copy of the calendar in front of you. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the calendar as presented, recognizing that at times we may have to make changes to accommodate special needs. Is there a motion to approve the calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Robinson, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I would like to make one quick discussion to the motion, and that is, at the suggestion of several members, and I've appreciated their advice, we would like to see if we could add a one-day offsite for us together as a membership. And what we'd like to encourage would be that we find, we have three potential items. One would be that we bring in an outside facilitator for it and have some training on how to continue to be a highly effective board. Relative to school boards across the state and across the nation, we are considered a highly effective board, but there's always room for continuous improvement. And having someone come in and giving us best practices, things we should consider, and ways that we could continue to improve, I think would be a benefit of all of us. The second would be to have superintendent, we together as a board put together a strategic plan, and then Superintendent Chang has done a strategic implementation plan. And I think it'd be worthwhile for us to have a little dig in a little bit farther to think about the theory of change on that, about what that really means, implementing the strategic plan. Did we have any changes on it, et cetera? So I think that would be a helpful agenda item. And then third, I would like to propose that we as a body have a public discussion about a calendar for the full year, about agenda items for the full year. Knowing that we always have some items that come up at last minute, schools have things that need to go to the state, et cetera. But I think it would be worthwhile if we, together as a body, instead of Dean Coleman and I trying to get input from members and then planning out semester by semester, so to speak, I think if we, together as a body, had a full discussion about what are some key things we want to make sure that we address during the year, the district could do some more advanced planning on it, and we would have a better sense of how this would fit in and when it would come up. So I'd love to hear some thoughts and comments and advice on that. Ms. Oliver Davila?
I think that's a really wonderful idea. I would also add, in some of the conversations I've had with some consultants around some of the work they're doing nationally for school committees. One of the things that they talked about was using equity as a lens through everything, and they helped school committees to come up with what exactly that would look like. And I think that's one of the things that we keep talking about. So actually being able to have something that we can follow each and every time and having a discussion around that.
Excellent. Excellent. Other thoughts or comments on it?
I think it's a great idea. I think one of the things that I'm personally looking forward to this year, given the fact that now we've all been together for at least 2 years, is to be as highly effective in our practices as well, and to be able to know in advance what we're looking at and making sure that we feel better prepared as we sit here each week to respond to the things that come up. So I'm hoping, as well as having that agenda, that we will be able to look differently at when we receive the information and the presentations for the week's meeting, so that we really get a chance to thoroughly have a real good time at reviewing that material before sitting here and not getting the last changes 2 hours before we're supposed to sit here and vote on something.
So not just agenda, but best practices as well?
Best practices,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know that there was a time on the school committee that if materials weren't presented by a certain date, the school committee decided not to deal with that item on the agenda that night, and I would hate to see us have to go back to that, but somehow to send the message that we can only do our best work when we really feel that we're well prepared
Right.
for the discussion.
And I think with more certainty about the agenda planned out farther in advance, that would allow the district's team to really shoot for. I know Dr. Chang has instituted practices, and I don't know if you want to address it, Dr. Chang, that your team meets with you, meets with others within the district before anything comes to us, because they've really focused on the quality of what they're giving us, but that has at times affected
Right, when?
the timeliness. Do you have any comments about that?
Our goal is always to have the initial presentation internally 2 weeks out, so we can practice our presentation and actually push each other on the thinking. And that's why we do make tweaks up to the school committee meeting. But if we had the agenda items further out, it would give us a lot more time to prepare. So absolutely supportive of this retreat.
And if we do it, I do caution members that under the open meeting law, the portion attributed to the strategic planning work or the theory of change and the agenda would all be in public session. Training typically is not, but we'd have to be careful. The Ally would be there to make sure that no policy items are discussed during training, so. So if we'll ask Ms. Sullivan to try to find, canvass the members and see whether a Saturday or maybe a Friday, you know, let's take a look at a couple of different options and see how soon we can put that together, Ms. Sullivan. So with that caveat to the calendar, that's one potential change, and it appears everyone has been supportive of that suggestion. We have a motion on the floor in a second on approving the calendar. Is there any further discussion on it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to get a sense of timing. When are you thinking that we could do this? I don't want us to get too far into the year before we do this, so.
The question would be how soon? Can we get
How
it done
soon
in
can we do
January?
it?
I would love to see if we could get it done in January,
Oh, okay. Good.
if it's at all possible, because we know what happens starting February 1st with the budget season.
We would have an external person to.
Yes. So the thought would bring someone in to facilitate as well.
And I
I know
wanted to
that-
thank you for bringing it up. I think it's something that all of us independently have been talking for a long time, and the need to have, even to know what to expect, you know what I mean? And to prepare, as I think as Jerry has said, to do the best work, we need to be prepared and conscious of what's coming down the pike. So thank you very much for.
I agree. I think it's an excellent suggestion, and I thank the members who have been talking about it and suggesting it, because I think it gets us all more on the same page from a full year viewpoint. So, very helpful suggestion. So with that caveat in mind, that we would be looking to arrange a one-day off-site that would be an open meeting sometime in January, and Ms. Sullivan will canvass members to try to put that together. We have a motion on the floor and a second to approve the calendar as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Sullivan, will you call the roll, please?
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Locanto,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver Davila,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Jerry Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Regina Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Uriarte.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on now to the 2017 calendar is now approved. We'll move on now to the election of officers, starting with chairperson. At this time, I'd like to issue a call for nominations for chairperson.
Yes, I would like to make a nomination. I would like to nominate our previous chair to be our current chair for this future.
I second. And thank you, Chairperson O'Neill.
We can
for
use
saying
names,
yes.
you know.
Not saying no.
Thank you. So there's a motion on the floor to nominate Michael O'Neill for chairperson, and there is a second. Are there any more nominations for the position of chair? Hearing none, I'd like to close out the nominations for chairperson. Is there a motion to close out the nominations for chairperson?
So moved.
Thank you, Dean
Second.
Coleman. Is there a second? Mr. Lecanto, thank you. Any discussion to the motion? Is there any objection to approving the motion to close out the nominations
I
for
have a
chair by
discussion.
unanimous consent?
I have
Excuse
a
me.
discussion.
Yes, thank you.
I want to, I don't know how formally to do this, but I can think of nobody that I know in the city who is dedicated, spend the time, has the skills, knowledge, perspective to work with the city, work with the superintendent, work with us to build consensus and effective practices among our differences and disagreements. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to, in a few moments, vote for you to be our chair and leader. And I appreciate the sacrifices you make in your personal life and professional life to fulfill this very demanding duty. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Coleman. That's very kind of you. Is there any further discussion to the motion to close up the nominations for chair? Is there any objection to approving the motion to close out the nominations for chair by unanimous consent? Hearing none, the nominations for chairperson are now closed. So at this time, I'd now entertain a motion to elect myself, Michael O'Neill, as chairperson.
Oh, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lecanto. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Dean Coleman. Any discussion to that motion? Ms. Sullivan, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Lecanto,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver Davila,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Jerry Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Regina Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Uriarte.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I am
You could not say no. 4 more years. You couldn't say no.
absolutely not.
Finally, an election I can believe in.
I am deeply humbled by the faith and confidence that my fellow members show in me in electing me chair. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, the chair is a servant of the body, and I take that very seriously. And I take the responsibility you bestow on me to act as your chair very seriously. So thank you very much. We'll move on now to the office of vice chair. At this time, I'd like to issue a call for nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Dr. Hardin Coleman.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Lecanto. Thank you, Dean Robinson.
3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. We're all set.
Are there any further nominations for the position of vice chair?
Someone competent?
There is no second to that. So if there are no more nominations for vice chair, I'd like to close out the nominations for vice chair. Is there a motion to close the nominations for vice chair?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you for the second, Dean Robinson. Any discussion to the motion? Hearing none, is there any objection to approving the motion to close out the nominations for vice chair by unanimous consent?
No objection, but I would add a note that Dr. Coleman has also served as a servant, and we appreciate your leadership as well. You all are a dynamic duo, and we're excited that we can start the year off with your leadership again.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objection to approving the motion to close the nomination for vice chair by unanimous consent? Hearing none, the nominations for vice chair are closed at this time, and I'll entertain a motion to approve Dean Hardin Coleman as vice chair of the Boston School Committee.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lecanto, and a second by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion to that motion? Ms. Sullivan, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Lecanto,
Yes.
Ms. Oliver Davila,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Jerry Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Regina Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Uriarte.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dean Coleman. Do you have any comments, sir?
Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Dean Robinson. Is there a second? Ms. Oliver Davila? It looks like unanimous consent. We look forward to seeing you back here for our first regular meeting of the new year on Wednesday, January 11th at 6 p.m. Thank you all and have a good night.